So we pick up again with this idea of belief, and we defined believing as to credit upon the authority or testimony of another. Now, to those who hear that, there are many who struggle to believe that anything can have authority that they can rely upon, they can look to. We think that something is true if we believe it to be true. But what is that? That's subjective truth. That's not objective truth. That's truth determined by me. And so to truly believe is to say truth is determined by something above me. It is to credit upon the authority of another, not myself. So this really is important for us to understand belief. Believing has everything to do with crediting someone other than ourselves, with being a source of truth. Our culture doesn't like that. Our culture says, I'll believe what I want based on what I decide. We don't like to give authority to somebody else. In fact, what we like to do is whatever is right in our own eyes. So the question then for you today is, what do you believe? And in fact, who is the authority that you believe in? Are you the authority determining what is true, or do you dare place your faith in another? I'm going to go ahead and take a look at a passage of Scripture in the New Testament. If you don't believe the Bible, that's okay. I still invite you to listen along. I'm going to read this story in the Gospel of Mark. This is an encounter with Jesus, a very interesting story. Mark chapter 9, verses 20 through 27. And it says, "And they brought the boy to him," that means Jesus, "and when the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, 'How long has this been happening to him?' And he said, 'From childhood. And it has often cast him into fire and into water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us.' And Jesus said to him, 'If you can?' All things are possible for one who believes." And immediately the father of the child cried out and said, "I believe, but help my unbelief." And when Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." And after crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. Jesus makes a profound claim in this story. I want you to catch on to. He says all things are possible for who? All things are possible for one who believes. The father of this child, who was possessed by an evil spirit, was forced to realize that believing meant appealing to the authority of another other than himself. Because what had believing in himself gotten him so far? Nothing. His son is still harassed by this evil spirit. His son is tortured and tormented. He needed help from another source, didn't he? And in this case, it meant crediting Jesus Christ with authority to cast out demons and bring wholeness to his son. If the man had doubted, but had placed faith only in his own efforts to save his son wouldn't have changed at all. And Jesus says to this man, and I believe he says to you and to me, all things are possible for one who believes. Now, believes what? Well, I'll answer that eventually. But let's consider the options you have when it comes to believing. The fact is, you do believe in something. Now, you may say, I'm watching this video and I don't believe in anything. Yes, you do. Even if you were to say you don't believe in anything, your emphatic statement of unbelief is a statement that you believe there's nothing to believe. Perhaps you could consider the song Free Will by the band Rush, where they say, you can choose a ready guide in some celestial voice. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Now, we could go very deep into discussing all the different philosophical arguments concerning belief, but I want to narrow it down a little bit for us, for the sake of this video. Consider the fact that you are a believer in something. You may not have thought about that before, but it's still true. If you believe simply in matter, in evolution, that we have the earth, the stars, the galaxy, all that is around you, well, an evolutionist claims to believe not in God, but in actuality, they worship all that exists. And in fact, their belief is in the world around them. They don't believe in God, but they elevate the created order as something to be worshiped. And in fact, they put their belief in the cosmos, as Carl Sagan would imply. An evolutionist can recognize that the cosmos are greater than themselves, and so they put their belief in that. And certainly it is understandable that they would be in awe of what they see. It's understandable that they would be amazed at the created order and see that as something to be in awe of, and in fact give credit to something greater than themselves. The problem is there something greater than that which they are, in fact, in awe of? Do they ask the practical questions of how did the cosmos get here? You see, the practical application of a godless interpretation leads them to order the created order rather than the creator. Without a concept of God, you're left with two possible options. Either the cosmos are eternal and have always existed, or they exploded into being randomly at some point. Now, I'm talking about evolutionists who believe in a big bang of random creation, as opposed to a creationist who perhaps would believe in the Big Bang and recognize not a random creation, but a God-ordained creation. But again, those who would be evolutionists and place their belief system in the created order are left without a belief in God and really without a very good explanation of how this earth and created order got here. They simply recognize it exists, and so they put their belief in that. We'll talk a little bit more about the implications of that belief in the next video.